Howdy folks, today we have this Epiphone Sheraton on the workbench. What we're going to be doing today is replacing the tone and volume pots. Okay, first thing we're going to do is take the scratch plate off. Easiest way to pull these knobs off is, normally you can get your fingers underneath, and in this case I can. However, sometimes you can use a cloth. And I get the cloth underneath and I wrap it around like so, and then I just pull up gently. Now, just because we're only replacing the tone and volume pots on this doesn't mean we can leave the pickup switch and the output jack in place. This is all wired together and everything is going to have to come out of the F-hole. So before I do anything else, I've got some very low adhesive tape here. Okay, you can use masking tape as well. Painter's masking tape works really well, but this is a very, very low adhesive tape. See, my finger won't even stick to it. It is just going to go around the edge here of the F-hole. This is the widest part of the F-hole in this spot here, and that's where my components are going to come out. And I want to protect the body of the guitar as much as I can. Okay, so all the electronics can be pushed through. And then, sometimes you can get a finger in there, sometimes you just have to get in there with some tools. Just covering up the body as much as possible, because I don't want any part of it to make contact with these parts, because I don't want to scratch anything. We have our volume, volume, tone, tone. Output jack, selector switch. Next thing I'm going to do is fire up my soldering iron, and we're going to replace all these parts. Alright, well, I have to apologize. My camera died completely while I was unsoldering the old volume pot, this one here, and soldering in the new one. But good news is I get to do it later for the other volume pot. What I've done now is I've gone and unsoldered the tone pot for the bridge pickup, and I'm going to solder in the new one now. So one of the things we need to do is put this down here like this, keeping things nice and secure. I'm also going to be replacing this cheap little green cap. I'm going to be replacing it with a nice beautiful orange cap, or orange drop, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we got our orange cap in place. Looks hilarious because of the size of it, but it's the right value and it's a high quality capacitor. It's going to give us great tone. Okay, next thing is our signal wire. We're just going to solder that into place. And then make sure our ground wire is also soldered into place. Just to make sure we're on the right track, we'll plug in our guitar again. Okay, so far so good. Now I'm going to repeat the process on these other two pots laying over here. So far these ones are okay. We're just going to put them aside, and now we're going to work on the other two. Okay, and now we have the joy of putting all the things back together. So we can kind of remove all this that we've been using to protect the body from solder and all sorts of stuff. We're going to keep the tape in place until we're done putting everything back in. Now, the hard bit isn't putting these pots back in, but it's going to be putting this output jack back in, because it has to go all the way to there. So what we do, what I like to do, is I feed a wire through and just tie it so I can safely pull that through. Okay, and what I'd like to do is grab my tweezers. I'm going to bring this wire to where the hole is and pull it through like so. Okay, now remember, you've got to go through the widest part of the F-hole here where I've taped it up, because that's not big enough for the components. There we go. Now I'm still holding onto the wire, because if I don't, the component will fall back through. And then what I want to do is grab my nut and my washer, and I'm feeding them through the wire. And as I'm pulling on the wire, and with a bit of tension here, so then we just pull the wire through, the component stays in place, and we can tighten that up so it doesn't move. Okay, so the next couple of components that are going to go in is going to be the tone and volume pot. Okay, and they are orientated this way. So volume is on top, this is for the bridge, and tone is on the bottom. Okay, so first thing we need to do is get them inside. Alright, so far we have the volume pot for the bridge pickup in, and feed it through. And grab ourselves a washer and a nut. So far we have our volume and our tone pot in place for the bridge. And before we continue, let's make sure that's the case. Let's plug it in. Volume, tone. The tone pot is automatically, feeding itself through, putting in the corresponding nuts for the volume and tone pot, and last but not least, the pickup selector switch. And now that should be the neck, and that should be the bridge. There you have it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Tune in next time for more stuff.